Well, hey there, Diet Disruptors. Carrie here. And if you know me at all, you know I love doing episodes with a guest. And today we have an amazing guest. Marley Page is with us, and she's got a story to tell. So, Marley, hey,
Hi.
I'm so happy that you're here. Tell everybody where you are because I love it when people are listening or watching and there's somebody on that's kind of near where they are. So tell us where you are and then a little bit about yourself, your family, all of that, because I can't wait for people to hear all about it.
Okay. I'm in Austin, Texas, and I am a wife of almost 19 years. I have a sophomore, well, he's a rising junior. We're done with school here.
Oh, right.
For the summer. So rising junior boy, then a rising freshman. I'm gonna have 2 kids in high school. It's brutal. And then I'll have a 6th grade daughter.
Oh my
Crazy.
goodness. So 2 boys and a girl.
No, 1 boy and 2 girls.
Oh, that's right. I knew that actually. 2 girls and 1 boy. Yep. And I love that. Now, one of the things that we should talk about is like Marley is a pretty healthy person. Like you care about health and your body and all of that. And you're raising kids and you're busy and all of those things. But I don't feel like you're like when I first met you and learned about you, it wasn't like it seemed on the outside like things were that out of control. It wasn't like,
No,
you were battling massive amounts of weight gain and all of that, but there was a lot going on with you.
there was a lot of stuff that I honestly didn't think I'd ever get to change in my whole life. Chronic pain from ruptured discs in my lower back. That was a huge thing. I could not really do a lot of the things that I wanted to do. I used to be able to, used to work out before I found disruptive nutrition. I couldn't do the things I wanted to do. I couldn't do the weights and working out like I wanted to because I was in so much pain. I mean, to the point where there were, my pastor always says, you get to an age where you hurt yourself in your sleep. And that was literally me. I would go to sleep and wake up in the morning and my back was hurting so bad. It was like my body had to warm up, is what I would tell my husband. I couldn't work out in the morning at all. And my body had to warm up. And there were nights where I would have to literally crawl to the toilet. Like that's the type of pain I was dealing with.
Did you know why?
Well, I have ruptured discs in my lower back.
Right.
But I don't think that's why. It was inflammation because I don't have that anymore after
That's
living this
what's
lifestyle.
so interesting, right? We get this like diagnosis, or the first thing was like, I have these, ruptured discs, for example. And then we just think that this is just the way it is.
Oh, I totally thought I'd be in pain the rest of my life. And then the other thing that was interesting, because you're right, I ate what I thought was very healthy. I mean, when my son was like in utero, I started really being conscious of what I was putting in my body and then the products in our house. And my family would say, oh, yeah, she's the healthiest one in our family. But then I got blood work done and my A1C was elevated, like pre-diabetes. And I literally was like, what in the world?
And
I
when
didn't
was
really
that? When was that blood work done?
December of 2022.
December 2022. Now let's think about this, right? You are eating pretty healthy. You have the pain, but did you have like massive amounts of weight gain and things like that?
No, I had gained some weight with COVID,
As
which
a
I
lot
think
of people did, right?
a lot of us did. And then I did that Octavia diet. And then I was trying paleo and I did intermittent fasting for a period of time, which was interesting. I also at the same time, but people looking at me wouldn't have said, oh, she needs to lose weight. I felt heavier. I was definitely not fitting in my clothes like I wanted. And I didn't want to buy all new clothes.
That was your motivation.
Yeah, it's like, well, these pants don't fit, but I'm not buying new ones, right? But my hairdresser also had said to me, I think it was in last fall, like September, maybe, she said, you need to do blood work. Your hair's all falling out. So clearly, like, I might have looked healthy on the outside, but inside was not, things were off. I was in level 1 adrenal fatigue.
Now that
Was
is
what that was.
so unbelievable because you're eating healthy and you're thinking about what you're putting in your body. But when I hear about women and how they gain weight, the first thing I think about is our health, and we're sick. What the majority of women think is, oh, I'm just getting fat. I don't feel as confident. It becomes more of like the ego thing versus the actual health and wellness of our body. And I love that your hairdresser said that to you, because that was probably the wake up call. But gaining weight doesn't give us that same wake up call, even though weight gain is a symptom of health and hormones. If we
Right.
are gaining weight, there is something going on. That is our body being our best friend, honestly, working to accommodate and adjust for the things that are happening in it. But you didn't see that. You just saw it as like this, like, right, inconvenient thing. I don't want to buy new clothes. I want to look a
Totally.
certain way. And it wasn't until your
Totally.
hairdresser told you.
Right. That I was like, oh, I got to really figure this out. And so I work with a functional medicine specialist, and we started digging and figuring it out. Right. And interestingly, she's the same person who did the blood work where my A1C was elevated. And I told her, oh, well, I've just learned about this lady who teaches you how to eat to keep your blood sugar stable. And she goes, oh, if you do that, you'll be fine. If you learn that, you'll be fine. We'll redo your blood work in 3 months. And so that's what we did.
And what happened
Yeah.
3
It's
months later?
3 months later, it's back to normal. Like, I honestly couldn't believe it.
Thank God your hairdresser said that too, because here's the thing. You caught the signs early. This is one of the things
Yes.
that I say. This might be a weird like connection, but when my girls were 5 and 6 and they started talking about calories, I didn't think about it at the time. I thought, oh my gosh, what am I doing to my kids? But I look back at it now and I'm like, thank God I got that clear of a sign that I needed to change. I needed to figure out my own thinking and my own beliefs about my body and weight, because I am clearly showing my kids this same behavior, right? And the same thinking. I got a sign. I got a real clear message. And thank goodness your hairdresser said something to you when you did, because how long would you have gone gaining more weight because you're not balancing your blood sugar and really not knowing it, because you have chronic pain, you're used to it, the cravings, the energy, all of that, you can blame on 100 things as it is what it is.
Oh, totally. And or like, oh, it's just my hormones this month,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, yeah, I
Yep.
know. I'm really thankful that
And
she
and
told me that, and then
and
that
this
I
is
knew what to do.
what I think is so important. And while I don't want to like, you were eating healthy and your blood sugar was still out of whack, which also impacts our adrenals and our hormones and everything. But the fact that you were eating a clean lifestyle is absolutely one of the one of the reasons why you saw such progress so quickly, right? Overall, you
Yeah,
have a healthy body. Your body's not storing. We actually produce fat cells to store the toxins that we're putting in our body. So while weight gain is a symptom of health and hormones, and that was happening to you, you started off at a pretty good place because you were taking care of your body. And I think that that's important. I don't want you or anybody else to think I was doing it wrong for so long. You set your
right.
body up for success. And I think that's exciting.
Yeah, I was doing the best with the knowledge that I had. I just
Mhm.
didn't have all the knowledge I needed, right? Like,
Right.
I didn't know how to really combine my foods to keep my blood sugar stable. And that's what you guys taught me, right? So
Exactly. But
yeah, I was definitely doing my best.
it was interesting because right before we hopped on, we were talking about somebody that you had been talking to recently, and she was shocked when you said you have no idea how many calories you have in a day. Tell us
Yeah,
about
no.
that.
Okay, so I was talking to a lady today, just about this program, and it was so hard for her to wrap her brain around. There's such a shift in mindset from eating to keep your blood sugar stable, like fueling your body that way, versus counting calories I've got to deprive myself to lose weight, which really is not healthy. And I told this lady, I said, I have no clue how many calories I eat in a day. I said, you know what? I don't even know how many meals I eat in a day because it really depends on how long I'm awake. And I'm not counting it. I'm not like writing things down and tracking it. I just eat. Like now my body tells me when I'm hungry and I fuel my body to keep my blood sugar stable. And the thing that I love is like I eat more now than I ever used to. I was on spring break with my mom and my mother-in-law and our 2 daughters. And my mom looked at me and she was like, I've never seen you eat so much. I'm like, I know, it's so nice.
That is so interesting. And let's dig into that for a second, because you're raising 2 girls and a boy. And I think it doesn't matter, honestly, our kids, whether you're boys or girls. I was just recently on the Today Show talking about disordered eating in kids, and that 1 out of 5 kids has an inappropriate relationship with food in their body. And when I say inappropriate, I mean it's like almost like a unhealthy attention on the things around our value being in our body, and being a little bit afraid of actually eating and food. And so I think it's interesting where your mom noticed that you were eating more than you ever did before. And we have this just innate belief, and it's like this cultural thing that we really shouldn't eat, especially women. Women shouldn't eat. And it's like, I wonder, because I don't think you came to this really feeling like you really needed to undo a lot of mindsets like I felt like I had to do around your kids. But knowing how to eat, knowing how to fuel your body, understanding more about health in your body, how does that shift the messaging that you're sending your kids? Just the fact that you're eating more is interesting to me, right? And that people notice that. But what else is shifting in your home on how you talk about food and any of the mindset stuff?
It's been interesting. So my son is very dedicated baseball player. Their team actually is in the state tournament Friday, like top 4 in Texas. Like
so exciting.
This team is so fun to watch. Anyway, he is really wanting to make sure he's fueling his body as he needs. And he's coming to me, ask like, like I'll prepare a meal and I tell him, now this is your protein, these are your fats, and these are your carbs, right? Because I'm just teaching him intrinsically. So like if he just wants something that's in one of those macros, then I'll say, okay, but you need to grab a protein and fat or whatever, to help him continue to fuel his body as he needs to. There's one example. Then another example.
Well, wait, hang on. Let's just hold that on that for 1 second, because let's go back to fall of 2022, right? Yeah. Do you think, my first question is, do you think he would have asked you for help? And 2, do you think you would have known how to help him?
No, he wouldn't have asked. And I'd been like, sure, just eat the cereal. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have said, no, you need to add these things to make it a balanced for your body to fuel it.
This is what's so powerful. By you learning how to take care of your body, by you realizing I need to do something different, you now have a whole nother skill set that your kids are going to grow up knowing. And fueling your kid athlete is so important. As an athlete myself, when I was in college, I had no idea how to eat when I got out of school. And as a result, I had this horrendous relationship with food in my body because I was completely scared of it. Because I had no idea. Because I was never going to work out the way I was working out when I was an athlete.
Right. I mean, so for me now, when I say to him, if he's going to work out, I'll say, have you fueled your body first? Because if you don't, you're going to be burning your muscle. Well, he doesn't want to burn his muscle, right? So he's like, okay, what should I eat? And I just, I grab him a grab and go, and he's out the door.
Oh my gosh. I love that, Marley. I'm so excited. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's talk about your other kids.
So I got to tell you the opposite end of the spectrum, and you're going to maybe get your eyes real big. But so my 6th grader, she loves those spicy Cheetos.
Oh,
which
yeah.
I'm like,
yep. My eyes are not going to get real big. Food is not good or bad. Food serves our body, and food serves our soul. And we need
That's right. So those Cheetos serve her soul. But now I'll be like, where's your protein and fat with your Cheetos? And she's getting to where now she grabs them. Sometimes they do look at me and they're like, oh, you're so annoying. I'm like, no, I'm not. You need to fuel your body properly. And so she's even, right? She's only 6th grade. But to me, that one's even more important because she's a girl who's young, right? So I can try to prevent like negative thoughts about food.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, great. That serves your soul.
That's one of the things that I do with my kids. And I'm like, listen, it's not the fact that you can't have the Cheetos. I'm never going to tell you can't have something. Understand what it's doing to your body. You're going to spike your blood sugar up really high, which
Right.
means if you spike your blood sugar up, it's going to go down real fast. And that's where the energy just completely depletes. And you're about to go to school all day or whatever it is. You're about to blank,
Right.
go to work or whatever it is. And you need your energy to be stable. You certainly don't want to feel like you're down. So it's not because you're going to gain weight, or it's not even because it's not healthy. It's when your blood sugar
It's
spikes,
just
you're going to feel it later. If you add a protein and a fat to that, well, Cheetos will have a fat in there, but let's get some, some other kinds of fats
yeah,
that might serve our body a little more. And in addition, you're going to be able to stabilize your energy level. It's simple.
exactly. Yeah. 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 So I do love that. And then the other thing that's been super cool because I like to cook out of our recipe vault at night.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband's like, these meals, like last night I did the Mongolian beef.
Oh my gosh. Mongolian beef. If you all who are in the recipe vault have not tried Mongolian beef yet, and if you are
It
not in the
literally,
recipe vault, we only open it twice a year, but put a comment in and we'll make sure we tell you when it's open.
he says to me every time I cook it, which I cook it now at least every other week because I'm like, it's so good. And he'll say, this is literally better than the restaurants. I'm like, I know, you told me that last time.
That is
Like,
so funny. The first time we had Mongolian beef, we serve it with the recipe comes with cauliflower rice. And
yeah,
it's not to say you can't have regular rice, but the cauliflower rice recipe is so amazing that sometimes I just make that cauliflower rice and add other recipes to it. But I literally said to my husband, we would have spent like $30 each on this meal. And
yeah,
we would have left there going, that was the best dinner we've ever had.
yeah. No, it's so good. So I do love that. Like, I used to dread thinking about what am I going to cook this week? Right
Mhm.
now, I just open up the recipe vault and I'm like, there's so many options.
Oh
Like,
my
what am I going to
gosh.
try out of here? It's like I'm not having to come up with the creative part of what I'm going to cook. It's all there. I just choose. Super nice. Even
And
my kids, I can say, you choose something. What do you want to cook
yes.
this? Right?
And I love that because they could go through the vault themselves, right? And this is what I do with my teenagers. And I'm like, okay, everybody, they have to pick one meal a week to cook. But right there in the recipe vault is information about not how many calories are in the meal, but what your protein, fat, and carb balance is. And it's
Right.
these little tiny micro communication moments with our kids that starts to set the foundation for them to have confidence with what they're doing
Yeah.
versus questions. And your
Yeah.
kids are going to grow up so differently. I love the age that they're at that you are figuring this out
Me
because
too.
they're really watching you and they're modeling what you're doing, but you're also kind of their coach. Like this is a cool age where
Mhm.
they watch what you're doing, but they also come to you for coaching.
Yeah, they do. For sure. For sure
It's
they do.
so
Yeah.
so cool. And as you continue to live this lifestyle, now you're really busy, right? You're an entrepreneur and you've got lots of work as well as 3 kids and running around like crazy. How do you make this lifestyle work despite the chaos and the craziness of your life?
I feel like it's made it almost easier,
Oh, tell
because
me
I'm
how.
not well, I just don't think that I am thinking about food as much anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, I used to just think all the time. I think it's because I had cravings so much
Yep.
that I was constantly thinking about my next meal
Yep.
and what it would be. And it's taken all that out. Now, like I'll tell you, like just it during the day, I pretty much do what we call grab and go,
Yep.
which is pretty simple, right? Like just like it's in my fridge and I already have it and I just put it together.
What's the last PFC meal you just had? Whatever that was.
I just had some turkey with some salsa and avocado, and I like those siete chips.
Yes.
I had those, and then I also had cucumber because I
So I
really
just had um a wrap with Costco has this like chunk of turkey. Like I don't know if you've seen it. It's like and you can like cut it yourself. So
oh
great because it's like a little fresher than doing like just deli meat
yeah
and had green goddess dressing from Primal Kitchen. So
yes
Primal Kitchen stuff. And it was the same kind of thing. I didn't cook it. It was already all ready. And I just wrapped it up and ate it real quick while I was walking around the house and doing things.
Oh, speaking of Primal Kitchen, so I have a recipe I think you should add to your vault.
Okay, what is it?
Okay, this is my favorite recipe right
Okay.
now because it's so easy and so good. I just take chicken breast in the crock pot.
Yep.
Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce on
Oh, I
top.
love that stuff. Yes.
Cook it till it's shredded.
Okay.
Put it on top of a sweet potato, avocado, and some of the Primal Kitchen ranch. It is so good.
I
Now,
actually think
my 16-year-old son does a regular baked potato, right? But
yeah,
it's like delicious. So
I
easy.
think I actually have all of that stuff. I think that's going to be dinner tonight. That is
It's so easy,
genius.
and the chicken breast can be frozen. You just put them in with the
So
Primal
I
Kitchen
use my
sauce.
Instapot with my frozen chicken, and it's faster than the crock pot.
True.
Do you use the
That's true.
Instapot?
No, I had one and I got rid of it.
Oh my gosh. Even just for eggs, girl. Every Sunday, because I don't meal prep, I meal plan and plan out my dinners for the week. But I do put as many eggs as I can fit, probably like 20 eggs in the Instapot, and it's 5 minutes and they peel perfectly every single time.
Ooh, that's fast.
It's worth an Instapot just for eggs.
Just for eggs.
Just
Okay,
for eggs.
maybe so.
It's another great grab and go. Eggs themselves are a protein and a fat. Little orbs. So easy. So cool.
Yeah.
So that is a great recipe. I love that you're doing this. Okay, so keep going. So you do grab and goes a lot during the day.
Yeah, and then I'll cook from the recipe vault at night, probably 3 or 4 nights a week. But then there's other nights where we go out to dinner and I can either like have an appreciation meal where it's like, great, eat whatever, like don't worry about it because 80-20 rule, right? Consistency over perfection.
Well,
Or
and
I can
also
easily
because your body is getting healthier and healthier and healthier. You know this.
True.
So now your body's
Yeah.
not working on balancing its blood sugar on its own every single time you eat. It's stabilized the majority of the time. So when you have an appreciation meal, your body's like, Marley, don't worry, I got this. We're rested. Let us do our thing. And it's not going to derail you.
No, right. True. Yeah. But I also find that it's not too hard to eat PFC. I think it just depends on the type of like Mexican food. I think it's easy. It depends on the type of cuisine.
Well, let's be honest. All food is protein, fats, and carbs. And once you understand more
Right.
about foods, you can basically eat anywhere.
Then you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I love this. All right. Last kind of thing I want to tap into. We know that in all reality, I refuse to just give a woman a meal plan anymore. I used to do it years and years ago and teach women how to balance their blood sugar. And I'm like, this is how you do it. And inevitably, they all fell off because I didn't actually dig into their mindset and their thinking. And we know that our thoughts and our beliefs dictate our actions. So if you've ever allowed the chaos of life to kind of derail you, or if emotionally we get, bombarded by, whatever's going on in life and we go to food to soothe us, we stress eat, those kinds of things, we fall off. And that's what happened to every single woman that I was teaching. They would eventually fall off. And you came to us actually with a really strong mindset. You're an 8 on the Enneagram, like I am, which I love, and you're a healthy 8. And I think that that's really powerful. But it's not to say that mindset isn't still a really big part of the equation for you. What pieces of your own thinking have you really revisited and reflected on over your journey?
One of my favorite things I did when I did doing the trifecta, and I have it right here because I like to look at it, is the values matrix. Really looking at like, what do I value as a person, right? We all have different values, but what are my top 10 values? Because that helps me. I'm an 8, but I'm also a pleaser. People, I think because they know I work hard at anything I do, I'm oftentimes asked to do things that I might say yes to that I really maybe shouldn't. And so, for example, having the values, like I literally have them right here on my desk, because it helps me with just my day-to-day, like, am I really doing what I should be doing today in this moment, right? If it doesn't line up with my values, then no, I shouldn't, right? So
I
I
love
love that. I'm not, I think also, I'm not a super introspective person. So I really enjoyed that part of this program, was like, it made me think through some things that I'm not maybe necessarily wouldn't have done. And that was so healthy for me because
Yeah.
we're all, I mean, all of us are so busy. But we need to be doing those kinds of things
Well,
just
and
to,
and I think you bring up a really good point because especially around being so busy and being a pleaser and just moms in general are doing things for other people. That's just the nature of being a mom, right? Because we always
yeah.
put our kids ahead of us very often. And I talk about the discipline of declining and learning that. And we often talk about it with food and being able to make intentional decisions about what you want to do and why you want to do it. But what you're mentioning is the discipline of declining around life, the
Mhm.
chaos of life. And by understanding what you value, what truly is most important to you, you can say no to things and realize that there's no it's nothing good or bad about that thing. It just didn't line up with the value system that you have for yourself. And it makes it easier to say no to those things.
It
And
does.
you gotta.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a friend years ago. I had been teaching Bible study for years and I needed to step away because I needed to focus more on my family. And she said to me, "You're in the time of life where you need to stand at full attention to your family." And
Mm,
so going through like that values and thinking through that has really helped me to stand at full attention to
I
my family.
I love that. And you're at the age right now with your kids where I'm coming closer to the end of that stage in some ways because my kids are graduating high school. One of them's graduating in a year, one of them's graduating this year, but you still have middle school and beginning of
Hmm.
high school. And I remember in 2019 when I was traveling 2 weeks a month and I loved it, but somebody once said to me, the loudest voice wins. And it's about being there at that time where I knew I needed to stop. I didn't
Yeah,
necessarily want to, but I knew I needed to because that's where my values were. And I could look ahead 5 years and regret every minute of not being the loudest voice for my kids.
right. Yeah,
And, as I look back now, I'm like, you'd never regret that. But now I'm going into a new season, right? Where my kids are going to be off. And now I have to readjust in some ways those values because if they are exactly the way they were, then I won't be doing the things for myself that I need to be doing. So I love that. I think that's a really intentional piece of what we're trying to teach and it will evolve and change. So your values, you need to be revisiting them on a regular basis to make sure that as the seasons of your life change, you're front and center with what you want to focus on.
yeah, because a lot of what you were teaching us is that it's not just physical health. We need, right, mind, body, it all. We want optimal health for all of it, and so that has been just a portion that I just didn't even recognize I needed, but it's been really fabulous.
And now let's talk about your chronic pain and how that
Mm.
also impacts your mental health, your emotions, and your stress
Oh,
levels. Where is your pain now?
I mean, like a zero.
Really?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. Normally, by this time, because of stress, I am like, so last year, for example, I was definitely in pain that was starting to get worse. And then by mid-June, typically I would need to be put to sleep and have steroid injections in my back.
So was your pain
So
like at a level 10? If you really had to look at a 1 to 10, do you feel like you were a chronic pain of a 10?
like day to day, probably 6 or 7, but then it would go skyrocket. And I have anaphylaxis with any anti-inflammatory, so I can't take aspirin, Advil, ibuprofen, any of that. So the options for me are not great, and I didn't want to be addicted to pain pills. So I always would try. I mean, I've tried so much: dry needling, chiropractic, deep tissue massage, like stuff that it's like, what are you doing? But I tried it all. This I've had to do steroid injections every June for I think 9 years because it would get to a point where my muscles would spasm and then I couldn't function, right? That then it's at a 10, I'd say a 10 plus. Like it's, you can't walk. And my kids have seen me try to walk and I just fall to the ground. Like no
Wow.
10-year-old needs to
Wow.
be right helping their mom off the floor. So um yeah, so I'm like, well, it's June. I'm at a zero. last year I would have been at least at a 7 or 8, right? So I'm really
Daily.
hopeful, right? I'm hopeful that that's not going to happen this year.
That's amazing. And I think that that's what we have to recognize is that your body type is probably more of like an ectomorph that's probably got a pretty good metabolism, even as you get older. Because somebody that's more of a mesomorph or an endomorph would have likely gained a whole lot more weight than what you were gaining. And so in some ways it's a blessing and a curse, right? Because it was gradual,
Mhm.
but the inflammation that you had clearly for many, many years can all be attributed to blood sugar stabilization. And we know that when we spike our blood sugar or when it's dysregulated the way it is, our bodies have to constantly adjust. But we also know that it is a root cause of inflammation. And so just by you in 3 months, I mean,
I
well,
know.
actually, when did the pain start going away?
Oh, very quickly. It was about 3 weeks in
Wow.
that
Wow.
that my husband looked at me one day and he was like, "You don't complain when you get out of bed." And I was like, "Oh, you're right. It doesn't hurt." It was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, yeah, that
Oh my
was
gosh. I
something
mean,
I really never thought would go away my
right.
whole life.
Right. And with all the things that you've tried, I'm just so excited. I love that you put your trust in us, but also that this just gave you just a whole nother layer of a lifestyle and parenting and probably more than you even realized you could have.
Oh, I think for sure. And when I look back and think about all the things I tried, all the money I spent,
Mhm.
and I'm like looking back, I'm like, well, this is priceless for me, right? Because a life without chronic pain is, yeah, it's just like it's so worth anything.
Absolutely. And then
Yeah.
just as a cherry on top, you're now going to change your family tree. You know,
Right.
you
I'm
have
not going to be diabetic.
You're
How
not
about
gonna be
that one too?
diabetic. Like, this is huge,
Yeah.
huge. And
Yeah,
this is
it
what I
is.
always say, there's plenty there's plenty of skinny, unhealthy people. So it cannot be about the weight on the scale. Because
No,
that's
right.
not going to be our determinant of health. But
Mhm.
not being in pain anymore. And is your hair falling out?
Nope, it's good. But I can remember, I mean, like you and I met after a meeting
Yep,
that was what, a 2-day meeting?
yep.
They expected everybody to sit the whole time. And I stood up in the back because I could not sit down that whole time. My back
Mhm.
was hurting and there was no way I could sit down that long. And so I was literally in the back of this meeting all by myself, like looking like a crazy lady, but that's just what I had to do.
Yeah. And now you could probably sit.
Oh, now I'd be fine. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. Marley, I'm so excited that you get to share your story, and I hope it's motivating and inspiring for others because this is what really matters. I always say we weren't put on this earth to find the right diet. We were put on this earth for a purpose and for a reason, but we keep living as if we were meant to just search and search and search for the right diet. And so you now have a whole new capacity and ability to be able to go do the things that you were put on this earth to do. So I'm super excited for you, for your family, and everybody that you get to inspire. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
If you are inspired or have any takeaways from this, make sure you comment below and share what you're taking away because these are the things that I think are really, these are the stories that are really giving us hope and inspiration and maybe a little bit of motivation if you've, just taken a step back here and there. So, Marley, thank you. Good luck in
Thank you.
baseball.
Thanks.
Bye.